Hi, this is Bailey Fogel, and I'm going to share about my research study. So I started off with the question of how do teachers' attitudes on technology-based formative assessment actually affect their assessment practices? So I did my study on 6 teachers from East Jessamine High School, where I teach. Um, and they were from various subject areas. And the reason formative assessment was such a big topic is because we are a one-to-one school for Chromebooks to students, and I just wanted to see, how well we actually incorporate the technology that we have, and if formative assessments really do as technology-based formative assessments are really as good as people think they are, or if teachers like them, don't like them, that kind of thing. So I started with the literature that I found, and the themes that kept coming up were how the technology based formative assessments really affect the students, and the benefits of that, teachers' attitudes towards formative assessments and kind of how that affects if they use the technology or not, and then also how the technology actually benefits the teacher. So to start with the methodology and procedures, I used a mixed methods triangulation approach. The qualitative data was collected by performing observations and interviews, and the quantitative data was collected by giving a survey. The mixed method really allowed me to kind of get different angles from the teachers, to kind of get how they feel about it and then also see how it's used in their classroom. So Google Forms was used for the survey, and the observations were in the classroom actually of the teachers giving the formative assessments, how they give them, how they give feedback, and that kind of thing. And then the interview was just really to see how the teachers felt about technology for formative assessments and how they use it and why they don't use it, and those sorts of things. And then to triangulate the data, I used those three data collection pieces to find themes and then meta themes, and base those themes that I kept seeing in the three sources to really find out what the findings of the research was. So my participants were 6 secondary teachers. They were selected randomly, and they had came from various subjects and varying levels of teaching experience. Um, and the reason it could have just been any teachers because all teachers are expected to use formative assessment um, at some point, hopefully more often than not. Um, but it's a requirement for all of our teachers to use formative assessment. So I could have picked from any participant or any staff member. Um, so my 6 or participants had varying numbers of teaching experience. Teacher 1 had 5 years, teacher 2 had 18 years, teacher 3 had 16 years, 4, 18, 5, 2, and teacher 6 had 4. And then actually, it had so happened that I got a lot of math in there. 4 teachers taught math, and then 2 taught social studies. So I got to see a big difference because I'm a math teacher. So I got to kind of see, the things that I see being a math teacher and using technology and that kind of stuff. Then I also got to see a different perspective from social studies teachers, which was nice. Um, so each participant signed a consent form and agreed to the procedures that would take place. And then the data was collected to complete the study, and it was kept on my computer that's password protected, and no one else has access to it. Teachers were given a number identifier, and the names were protected for their privacy. And then after this study is completed, all the data and anything collected will be deleted by December 30th, 2019. Okay, so data collection and analysis. The study again had three sources: the survey, observation, and interviews. The data sources were used in data collection in order to be able to triangulate the data. So to triangulate, I needed three pieces to be able to pull from. The data was collected. The researcher went through each of the individual pieces and highlighted the themes within each. The themes then highlighted that the things highlighted I related to the question. I didn't just highlight random things. It had to be stuff that it was relating to my question. How do teachers' attitudes towards technology-based formative assessment affect their assessment practices? Once I really found those themes that were recognized in the individual pieces, I started to put those tables together and see what was coming up in all three of the pieces. Um, so I found these meta themes based on the reoccurring codes and themes that were found in the individual sources. This allows me to kind of find outliers and things that could be kind of grouped together that were more of the same thing. And then the final stage, I found those main codes that came up in all of them that were after all they were all put together. This kind of showed the proof of triangulation, that it wasn't just, oh, I just found this one here. No, it's they all were reoccurring from those three data pieces. So while analyzing the theme, I was able to see the themes that occurred throughout each source and what themes support the research question. This allowed me to kind of to prove that my findings are indeed valid. So the results from my surveys from the participants, the highest scoring questions that were asked, it was on a Likert scale. 5 being they strongly agreed with the statement, 1 being they disagreed. So the 3 statements that scored the highest with strongly agree is technology-based formative assessments are effective in providing immediate feedback, which was a 4.8. Technology-based formative assessments are effective in collecting data, which was a 4.5, and formative assessments are important tools, which was a 4.67. Which the formative assessments are important tools were not as directly related to my question because it didn't acknowledge the technology part. So these are the themes that showed up throughout the observation. So I took the first step, which you see the majority of those themes. The step 1 was just kind of all the themes that kept popping up. How when teachers didn't use technology, what happened? When they did use technology, what happened? And just the things that teachers do, like in reinforcing the learned material, prompting students, that kind of stuff. And then I started grouping those codes together, like what goes together, what kind of doesn't relate to this at all. And I came up with those 6 grouped codes, which quick data collection using technology, immediate feedback to teachers and students using technology helps teachers to drive instruction, scaffolded content, prompts student reinforcing learned material using formatives. Then the step 3 was the common themes that I kept seeing and that were related to the grouping. So the common themes were the digital formative assessments provide teachers and students with immediate feedback. Digital formative assessments help teachers to collect data quickly, and digital formative assessments help teachers to drive instruction, which was also found for the majority on the survey as well. Um, for the interview, the themes that came up were also the same thing, but then I also was getting to view the perspectives of the teachers. I was able to see kind of the good and then also see the issues that they see with digital formative assessments. So the first theme being that digital formative assessments help teachers collect data and then a response of some of those summaries. It creates the data for you, it gives you charts, and it helps you grade things quicker, those sorts of things. And then the digital formative assessment helps teachers to drive instruction. So again, some of the response summaries allows you to zone in on certain things, create groups based on who missed which questions, see which students are missing information. And some of these, when I was also observing the students or the classes, I was actually seeing the teachers go to their computer and actually watch,